Aloha no kākou. I am here on behalf of myself and my daughter, Talia Kalaula, who sits here next to poor case. O wau Mehana Kihoi, o mauna loa ku'u mauna, o pu'u honua o honana o ku'u kahawai, o pu'u kapuai mea kupuna kulaiwi. My name is Mehana Kihoi. Mauna Loa is my mountain. Pu'u honua o honana are my waters. And Pu'u kapuai mea are my ancestral homelands. I'm here today to ask you to deny the CDUP for the 30-meter telescope. I'm here today to stand for a mountain, the tallest mountain in the world from the seafloor, the mountain where my kupuna can see and hear me the most clear, the mountain where I receive my highest level of spirituality, ku'uvahipana, ku'ukulaiwi, ku'uainaloha, mauna kea. My position in this case as a cultural and spiritual Native Hawaiian practitioner applies to the number 8 criteria. And if this permit is granted, the TMT will threaten the continuance of my traditional and customary rights in the respective area. I will suffer severe cultural, spiritual, psychological, and physical harm that will cause irreparable harm to me as a Native Hawaiian, my cultural identity, and my spirituality as a Native Hawaiian. The existing telescopes on Mauna Kea and the state of Hawaii and the University of Hawaii's poor management of Mauna Kea have caused me to have an injury because of their failure to honor the customary and traditional practices in this area. My imminent injury is connected to the University of Hawaii's application for a conservation district use permit to request approval to construct a 30-meter telescope that will cause further desecration of Mauna Kea, because the construction will forever change the uniqueness and spiritual landscape of this sacred place. I am a victim of domestic violence, and I have shared this story here before, in this very room. When I was 19 years old, I was violently attacked with my 7-month-old baby in my arms. 5 parts of my face were broken. I lost so much blood, I could have died. The blows and kicks in my face just inches away from my baby. She could have died. I was prescribed many different painkillers and referred to many different types of Western therapy, all which I refused. For years, I carried grief and pain, never having any way of releasing this hurt until I went to the Mauna. My first trip to the summit of Mauna Kea was in 2012. And from then, my life has never been the same. My kupuna welcomed me to her sacred slopes and allowed me to be there to heal. The heaviness that had settled over me for so long was lifting. All of my life, I was raised with the unspoken understanding that you do not go to Mauna Kea for just any reason. Mauna Kea, as I understood throughout my entire life, was kapu. I come from a family of Paniolo from Waimea, cowboys who honor this mountain. So deeply, they refer to her as Mama Nui, or Big Mama. My kupuna drank the water of that mountain. My kupuna breathed the air of that mountain. My mo'oku auhau connects me to that mountain. 2 months after my first trip to the summit in February 2013, I saw a flyer on Facebook saying that an 18-story telescope was to be built on the summit of Mauna Kea. And at that time, I didn't know much, but I knew that an 18-story structure of any kind did not belong on the top of a mountain. On April 2nd, 2015, I felt the most trauma I had ever felt in my life. As a victim of domestic violence, nothing could have prepared me for what I would feel that day. Armed men surrounded me while I was in Pule, in a place that for my entire life I had so much reverence for and that had given me so much healing. That day, it turned into a place of hurt, pain, and fear. Feelings that I had been so familiar with, feelings that my daughter had been so familiar with, had returned. My daughter, who was 11 years old at that time, watched as her mother, father, the midwife who helped bring her into this world, aunties, Uncles who she loves and adored were handcuffed and criminalized for praying and chanting at their highest temple and ancestral homelands. 58 arrests on Mauna Kea in 2015. 7 of those arrests were Native Hawaiian women in a prayer circle. In the middle of the night, mother and daughter, side by side, arrested for being in ceremony. Trauma that was created by your hands. Trauma that they may never heal from in this lifetime. Emergency rules that were later ruled invalid, but the damage had already been done. Your damage had already been done. I am a Native Hawaiian, a mother, a breakfast waitress. I have no legal background and no experience in the legal system. And I am standing here amongst some of the highest paid lawyers in all of Hawaii. Why am I here? Why do I need to be here to convince you to do your job? Taking time away from my family, putting myself through financial difficulties, driving across the opposite side of the island, taking countless days off from work. Why are we here? Will you be voting according to what the law says? Because the law says that our Native Hawaiian rights have priority. Priority to protect and preserve the land. Act like trustees and serve your beneficiaries. Uphold your duty of loyalty to the Native Hawaiian beneficiaries and ensure me that my constitutional rights are being protected. Because as far as I'm concerned, this case has already been decided behind closed doors. I went through 10 months of pre-hearing conferences and hearings, surrounded again by the very DLNR officers that arrested us on the mountain for being in ceremony, for being in pule. I put myself through grave financial burden to represent myself and thousands of others who are here or who cannot be here to support my position against this project. All while our community said that this case had already been decided. I stood before a judge and expressed the injury I'm suffering and will suffer should this project proceed. And that injury is not just confined to me, but to my daughter. And I stand here today before you while our community says that this is a losing battle. But yet I'm still here. I'm still here because I do not have a choice. I have a kuleana to my mountain, to my kupuna, and to my daughter. Do you believe that I enjoy being mistreated in a system that was not meant for me to be successful in? Do you believe that I enjoy having to fight my way through systematic racism? Do you believe I enjoy having to justify my cultural practices to foreigners with no cultural practices of their own? Do you believe I enjoy being criminalized for protecting my ancestral homelands? Do you believe I enjoy watching my daughter suffer an irreparable injury due to this permitting process and the anticipated injury should this project continue? Why is this so hard for you? To protect and conserve, uphold the 8 criteria. The TMT project cannot meet the 8 criteria. You either meet it or you do not. There are no exceptions, no exemptions. It does not say all criteria must be met unless you support through financial contributions to the community in the name of education. Or unless you furnish the facilities with pictures of the landscape to provide a sense of place. Or unless you implement a ride-sharing program to reduce the project's noise and dust. The TMT project will never meet the 8 criteria. Based on the hearings, hundreds of hours of testimony presented in the contested case hearings, the applicant cannot meet the 8 criteria because it has failed to account of the injuries that have and will occur should the TMT proceed. No evidence provided thus far have accounted for these injuries. Myself, my daughter, and hundreds of others like me have suffered injuries already due to the current state of Mauna Kea, the arrest and the potential construction of the TMT. I know what brought me here today, but what I do not know is what brought you here today. You are appointed to these positions. You are not elected. So what is it that spoke to you to sit in these positions that you sit in today? What is it that allowed you to accept these appointed positions? Was it to protect the lands? Was it to protect the waters? Was it to protect our endangered species? Was it to protect our endangered plants? Was it to protect our fragile and unique ecosystems? Was it to serve the best interests of our people? Or was it to protect foreign interests and to serve the best interests of billion-dollar corporations trying to destroy every single one of those things? You did not do your job. 58 people were arrested while you stood by, watched, and created unlawful rules to injure them even further, criminalizing prayer and spirituality, and hundreds more will follow if you allow this project to proceed. You will be sending the message out, not just to Hawaii, but to the world, to every indigenous nation, that Native Hawaiians are less than, that indigenous people are less than, that money is more precious than the land and precious natural resources that you vowed to protect. This case reaches every corner of this earth, and hundreds of thousands of Native people are watching your every move. I am here today because I would die for that mountain. I would die for Aloha Aina. I would die knowing that my daughter would rise up and take my place. And if you think you've seen anything with us, you will see a force that you've never seen before with our keiki. She was raised in ceremony. She was raised with our language spoken to her every day. She was raised with no fear. She was born for this.
Please.
And if I do not shut this down, she will.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kihoi Kanuha. The next speaker.
Thank you. I don't have a lot of comments to make, but I just wanted to say something about the University Council and TIO's council regarding certain petitioners being able to continue their cultural practices should the TMT be built. They are not cultural practitioners. Mr. Manat and Mr. Ng, they do not have cultural practices that they conduct on Mauna Kea. They don't have ancestral ties connected to Mauna Kea. So who are they to determine the practices that we are able to conduct when they do not have practices of their own? I don't think you understand how injurious it is to me to have to justify my practices to someone that has none of his own. And that's all I have to say about that. But I would also like to request that the board deny this permit. And should the board approve this issue, I would also like to request a stay of execution pending this matter. And to do any otherwise would be antagonizing the Hawaiian people and placing them in great danger. Meki aloha aina. Mahalo. Aloha.
Aloha. I just wanted to bring something to light of something that you said in your testimony. One, I do respect your testimony and I take heart to it. One part of it that I disagree with you is about the part that you feel that, let's see, none of the statements that we talk about or say about the project, because everything has been decided behind closed doors. Every one of these members here, I come from we got Kauai, you got Oahu, you got Oahu, the Big Island, and I respect all of them. And a lot of them bring a lot of knowledge to the board. We don't get paid, we put a lot of time into this, and I'm seriously, I'm not a rubber stamp person. I never was and I never will be. So I don't go behind doors and we kuka and says, this is what we're going to do. That'll never happen on my watch.
I appreciate that statement. My comment was made particularly to certain board members who had already voiced their support for this project, whether it had been in 2015 or after that. And conflict of interest. major conflict of interest that exists between members of this board and interveners. And even just having to witness board members testifying to secure funding for interveners such as Pueo. We're just having to witness that engagement, that interaction right now of board members trying to secure funding for other parties in this case.
I appreciate that. You've answered the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.